What is the worst candy? The off-brand Walgreens brand chocolate you get around Easter. It tastes chalky and like it was sweetened with Splenda. Maybe not the worst, but a candy I used to love was Butterfinger. Then they changed the recipe, and it is terrible now. I'll see it in the checkout line at the grocery store and just be sad because it used to be so good. My mom dips black licorice in baking soda. Not sure what it is, but there is a whole fucking bowl at my grandma's house. When they changed the Crunch Bar recipe, that was a crime against humanity. The flavored lube that I mistook for candy as a child. Which singer is instantly recognized by their vocal style? Not their lyrics, just their voice. Louis Armstrong. Vitas. BLR. Michael Jackson. Johnny Cash. Barry White. Dave Gahan. Is universal basic income a good idea? Why or why not? Only if you protect that income. If the government were to enable UBI and then allow low-income housing to increase rent to soak it up, then it wouldn't accomplish anything. Let me tell you about Alaska. Back in the 70s they found oil in Alaska. Their governor Jay Hammond was a Republican and he didn't want outsiders coming to Alaska for their oil. Alaska's resources should belong to Alaska and Alaskan tax dollars should benefit Alaska. So he helped establish the Alaska Permanent Fund through an amendment to the Alaska Constitution. It was designed to be an investment where at least 25% of the oil money would be put into a dedicated fund for future generations, who would no longer have oil as a resource. The Alaska Permanent Fund sets aside a certain share of oil revenues to continue benefiting current and all future generations of Alaskans. Now Alaska basically has a trust fund for all its citizens and they get dividends yearly. That's a model for UBI. Tax dollars as an investment in resources that pays dividends. There are thresholds where it's feasible and depends on the area, country employed. Different amounts mean different things for different people. Just looking at the US. $1,000 in NYC is nothing. But Montana? Yeah, that'll do good. So countries, states, cities should analyze what's best for their situation. Different ways if implementation and funding also vary. I'm not an economist, I don't know for sure what UBI would do to the economy. But I can see the writing on the wall with robotics and automation. Your job will probably be automated out of existence in your lifetime. Our economy is balanced on the notion that the demand for goods and services creates enough jobs for roughly everybody. What happens when that's not true? What happens when we can make everything we want with less than half the people working at all? Whether UBI is the answer is up for debate, but the problem is real. BA in economics here. Depends on how it's funded and how far it goes. Ideally, you want to tax the rich enough to supply the poor. Unfortunately, the rich's accountants have found the tax code to be full of holes. I recommend taxing corporations. As a company has a clear profit where individuals have stocks they can hide behind until they cash out. I recommend taxing high-profit companies as taxing the poor to pay for the poor only creates administrative costs. Speaking of administrative costs, as UBI is implemented, you can start firing people who work in unemployment offices. Perhaps even taking food stamps out of print. The biggest difficulty is determining cost of living. What pays for rent in NYC pays a mortgage and a car payment in rural America. It needs to be an equation free of human political influence and truly universal in its implementation. Lastly, there's the question of if it's sustainable long term. Will we see if taxing the rich has the effect of decreasing the number of millionaires? Or if productivity will boost high enough to create new millionaires? Overall, it's positive. In pilot programs, we find most people using the money wisely. Not on the stock market, but on food, rent, and to pay off principal on loans. We find people more open to looking for jobs that better fit their talents, or reducing hours at existing jobs to pursue their own business. It gives room to fail at the bottom, the kind that the top got in 2008. The very last thing I want you to consider is automation. We don't have an all-robot McDonald's yet, but we are close. https u2.be/vipschutzag. Close enough to consider what happens to the people working 3 fast food jobs 60 hours a week and still can't afford healthcare. Edit. Jesus Christ, this blew up. Here's some links for you to look at before you mention stimulus checks and inflation. John Oliver on inflation 2 months ago. https u2.be/imbo4gvidexchick. Why surfers should be fed on JSTOR if you have an account. https www.jstore.org/stable/2265291. Why should I work and you stay home and we share my income? What keeps you from going insane? Pure spite. Surrendering to the present in order to detach from past pains and future uncertainties. Currently Zoloft and Trazodone. Nothing. I've gone insane. I'm okay. I'm reasonably happy from time to time. I have people that care about me. I've done some stuff that gives me fond memories. And will do more stuff that gives me fond memories. Nothing is as bad as my brain might sometimes think it is. And I have some pretty bad shit in my life. There's always tomorrow. I'd miss Canadian Fall. I've learned a lot. Would be a shame for it to go to waste without making all that knowledge more useful somehow. People don't want me to go insane. My choice to continue to live is already proof of my insanity. What's something you used to cheap out on until you tried the expensive version and could never come back? I used to use normal toothbrush, then I used a good electric toothbrush. Subscribe, my brothers.